Shy introverted people of Reddit, what is the furthest you've ever gone to avoid human interaction? I went on a 3-week camping trip to avoid 2 family reunions. I fully support your methods and reasoning. Getting off the bus at the wrong stop and walking because I pressed the stop button too soon and didn't want to tell the driver. In 7th grade, one would hide in the science lab during lunch and recess time and feed and play with the school pets. I would ask to use the bathroom around 10 minutes into lunch and then come back in the last 2 minutes. They probably thought I had some real bad bowel issues. They were 2 birds, a bunny, and 2 guinea pigs. I would feed them carrots and talk to the monsieur. Nobody knew that I was there for half of the year. When one of my teachers finally walked in on me, I thought I was busted. Luckily, she was one of the nicer ones and made it my official job to play with and feed the animals. The hero we deserve. The postman was knocking on my door. So rather than answer it, I decided to army crawl past the door, so he wouldn't see me through the frosted glass. Then he pushed open the letterbox, and saw me splayed across the floor, hid under a bed while a real estate agent showed a couple around my flat. Couldn't be bothered to go out but can't stand small talk, so decided to lay low. I had a cup of tea, cushions, a Nokia with Snake on it. I was quite happy under there. They were 25 minutes late. I guess I was under the bed for just over an hour. I feared a sneeze. I was in my early 20s. Edit. Well, this went big. Thanks for the gold. Kind anonymous benefactor. Enjoy your weekends, folks. And be sure to keep your breathing, sneezing and flatulence under control if you try this at home. Not that it has any bearing on this. I had a realtor show me a house once, and while I was looking around I opened the attic access and monsieur, there was a whole family quietly sitting in the attic. I assumed the owners. I looked at them. They looked at me. Not a word was said. I closed up the attic and then decided it was time to GTFO. Were you, by chance, looking for houses in Amsterdam, circa 1944? Accidentally got a family murdered while showing houses, I once spent a weekend in a hotel because I just wanted to be alone and chill, reading books and watching TV. The people I lived with at the time couldn't spend more than an hour on their own with some sort of social interaction. The roomie I have now is like-minded and we can go days without talking, seeing each other, and it's great. Best friend I ever had. We still never talk sometimes. You know you have a great friend when the silence is not uncomfortable. Edit. My most upvoted comment is really meaningful to me. Cool, cool, cool. I went to an empty room and stood in the dark for 45 minutes to avoid the team bonding event. Lived in a loft downtown on the 3rd floor. The amount of times I used the stairs in effort to not being trapped on an elevator with a stranger is too many to count. One time there was a family moving in. I walked all the way around the building to the opposite side's entrance to get into the building. Then they were using the elevators, so I took the stairs. Then they were on my floor moving shit in. I didn't want it to look like I was trying this hard to avoid them. So I said, "Whoops, wrong floor," and walked up 2 extra floors and waited 10 minutes before going back down to see if they were gone. What should have taken me 5 minutes took me close to 30 to get in my apartment. That's when I realized I might have a problem, monsieur. My roommate threw a party at my house and I hid from everyone. There's only one front door and everyone would see me if I left and would want to talk to me. I avoided eating that whole night because I didn't want to walk by the party to get food. My car was trapped between other cars. I ended up jumping out of a 2nd-story window and walking 3 miles to a 7-Eleven. Greater than I ended up jumping out of a 2nd-story window and walking 3 miles to a 7-Eleven. Lol. But when you got back the party was over? Since I told my roommate to tell everyone at the party I was out with other friends. When I walked back from 7-Eleven I came through the front door, so it really looked like I was never home. Actually got away with it. Then I hit the asterisk yawn, asterisk, it's been a long night. Bye, and went straight to my room, monsieur. I failed an important test once because I was too scared to ask the teacher for a pencil. I peed on myself in 4th grade because I was too scared to ask. Going through the drive-thru just to park and eat alone in my car. Ah, yes. I do this a lot. Or even if I have to pick the food up, I will take it to my car and find a spot away from everyone where I can eat in peace, rather than associate with my nosy aunt when I lived with her. I told her I was going out for a while, moved my car up the street, and sat in it watching Netflix on my phone for a couple hours. Edit. Spelling. When I was 12, a man in a suit I didn't know knocked on the door. I could see him through the front room window, so I hid behind the chair, looked up to see if he had gone, made eye contact, stayed where I was. Wasn't the last time it happened. That was yourself from the future. I never answer the door unless I'm expecting someone. Just today actually. My neighbor was knocking on my door this morning and I didn't answer. When it was time to head to work, I realized I didn't have my keys. I think my neighbor found them and was trying to return them, monsieur. Edit. Added a little more to the above and included an update below. Update. Sure enough, I left my keys in the door last night and my neighbor was nice enough to try to return them, monsieur. But since I never answer my door, he took them to the front office. Let this be a lesson to my fellow introverts. Don't leave your keys in your door. Also, thank you for the PMs. I ignore knocks on my door too for the most part, but that's because my upstairs neighbor will walk in when I open the door, then proceed to fucking stay and talk for a fucking hour even if I'm in the middle of dinner. I'm not as shy and introverted as I used to be, but now I have moods where I do not even want to see a single person until the mood has passed. When I was living in dorms in college, I would stand in my closet or bathroom for hours just so I wouldn't have to see the people talking. In my room, monsieur, I ended up hearing a lot of conversations I shouldn't have heard because nobody ever knew I was there, lol. You can always tell a Milford man. Edit. Wow, my first goal, thanks. I wear headphones all the time, even if they're off, not plugged in. I'm so much more productive at work. People at the gym let me be, and people on the street leave me alone on my walk home. I do that and people still bug me. Especially on the train. People will wave in front of my face to get my attention, to usually ask for directions. I was getting a taxi back home and must have mumbled or garbled my destination because it was quite clear he was going to a completely different place. Like, literally as soon as he turned right out of the parking lot instead of left. I literally let the guy drive for 15 minutes in the wrong direction. Eventually just blurting out, "Anywhere here will do," and giving them a tenner. And then just walking aimlessly until I found a public transport I recognized and jumped on that. A 10-minute cab drive turned into a nearly 2-hour journey home. For those curious and who live in Manchester, UK, I wanted to get a cab from Ashton to Openshaw, and ended up going to Oldham, getting a tram to the city centre, and getting a train from there back home. I know Manchester. You poor thing, that's almost a whole day trip. I stopped talking for an entire year of school. 5th grade, to be precise. Asterisk 6th grade, asterisk you. Fatty fox. Hey, what's up guys, friends, dude, what the fuck? You can talk? I actually had this happen to me a few times. I wasn't the most talkative in some classes, so when I spoke it sometimes caused the entire class to turn towards me in shock. The best compliment I've ever received was when I was in a seminar type thing and I don't talk in those much. I raised my hand even though I wasn't really supposed to and started saying something and somebody interrupted me, so I stopped talking. A guy the first didn't really know at the time tells the interrupter to let me speak, because you, Booyaman, doesn't talk much, but when he does it's the best point we've heard all day. Shut up, and then the teacher agreed. Literally, I draw 20% of my now probably 80% self-confidence from this source alone. In order to avoid a mandatory Christmas social for work, I legitimately took myself to the just to get the registration wristband. For proof that I actually went to the hospital. And then left. Wasn't sick or anything. And I didn't even see a doctor. I just needed a hospital wristband to prove that I had a reason not to go to the work mixer. So I wouldn't get fired. I hated my coworkers. Edit. The Christmas party was mandatory because I was working at a preschool. And the company wanted to up their reputation as a family-oriented organization to the rich-ass parents who were throwing insane amounts of money at the company to babysit our kids. So they had a preschool Christmas concert, followed by an after-party for the parents to get to know the faculty. As if we didn't see them every fucking day at drop-off pickup. The party was also meant to be a way for us co-workers to get to know each other better. As if we hadn't worked together MF. 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. every fucking week. Fuck that. Edit 2. Holy shit. This blew up. Thank you, kind strangers, for the silver. I'm going to do my best to answer your comments. I promise I'm reading every single one of them. What did you say, to just get a band and then leave without seeing anyone? I pretended I had abdominal pain, and once they registered me in, put my wristband on, and told me to wait in the waiting room, I just left. In high school I didn't have a car, so I walked home. I used to just fast walk to try to beat the crowd of people. But I just didn't want to deal with it anymore, so I would stay in the computer lab, sometimes ask my dad to pick me up a few hours later. So once the bell rang to go home, I would just stay in class since I had computers, lest the teacher would forget I was in there, not even notice me, and then turn the lights off, lock the door, then leave. Honestly, I didn't mind at all. I got to play video games by myself, and one time about an hour and a half later the janitor came in. And I guess I scared hi monsieur. He turned the lights on and literally screamed when he saw me. Night janitor is probably also an antisocial person. Loves his quiet nights. No kids. Just him. The quiet. And the mop. Going to cross the street. But then stopping and pretending I don't have to if there's a car approaching, so I don't inconvenience the monsieur. I have phone anxiety. I was going to drive 1.5 hours to my college to talk to them in person over the summer instead of just calling to follow up on something. I'm not really introverted or shy, but I hate phone calls. I never know what to say, and I always end up talking over people when they pick up. I also dread leaving voicemails. They always sound stupid. Removed. I'll be in my room, pretending that I don't exist. I routinely cross streets or turn down streets that are in the wrong direction of where I'm going, to avoid awkward interactions with vehicles as a pedestrian. Please don't stop and give me that "it's okay to go" wave when there's still traffic barreling down the opposite side of the street, and you're the only vehicle trying to be courteous. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but it would be easier for everyone if you just kept driving. If my intention is to cross the street and a car is coming by, I keep walking until it passes, on the off chance that it tries to stop for me. Killed my already dead grandma a couple of times to get out of social events. When I was in the military, I volunteered for a deployment to get out of going to a wedding. Back when I had roommates I didn't know very well, I'd spend all day in my room without meals to avoid awkward pleasantries. Then I'd get really hungry, but the prospect of explaining why I'd spent all day in my room kept me inside. Then they'd text me and ask if I was okay, and I'd say, "Yep, just keeping busy with some projects." And they'd ask if I'd eaten anything since they hadn't seen me, and I'd say, "Yep, trust me, I'd never go without food." Then I'd wake up at midnight and steal my own food from the fridge. I went on an entire week-long vacation out of the country by myself. Went sightseeing, went on tours, ate out at restaurants, all by myself. It was amazing. This might get buried, but I was invited to the birthday party of an old high school friend who was part of the popular crowd in those days. I knew it would be a big party full of super outgoing people that I didn't really want to interact with all at once. My solution? Join a music ensemble. Learn 4 different instruments, with rehearsal twice a week, for 4 months because the concert date was the same as the party, and that would give me a valid and honest excuse to skip. So instead of talking to people, I played close to 50 collective hours of serialist and phase music. Not a bad trade in my books. Did you make any friends from that? Would be a funny story if you tried to get out of a birthday party and ended up making a whole new group of friends and an outlook on life. I did. The ensemble was with some other students who were just as weird and awkward as me. It was great. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.